we are now, but just pushing our minds back a bit, kind of the evolution of the workplace. It's quite an interesting topic, isn't it?
Workplace is always changing though, and I don't think we're even close to a final form now. I think what we're doing right now in terms of changing in the workplace 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we're going to look back on what we do now and think that it's quite archaic because we will have continued to evolve. And we can look back in time, you know, as far back as probably the 1970s, and workplace was very much around the partners with their corner office and everyone else had their cubicle. You sort of sat there in your little cubicle, you punched away at your work because it was very much desk-based, it was paper-based, it was very much manual processes that you did on your own at your cubicle, and that was right for the time, but as time went on, the workplace that was needed to support the activities and the way activities have evolved, that changed. So we started to see things like the sort of traditional open plan office emerge through the 1990s into the early noughties. Definitely sort of a lot less cubicles, more sort of that sea of desk thing that we start to see, but definitely not as many alternative seats. So it's still very much that idea that you do your work at your desk, it was just the format of that desk had started to change.
Yeah.
And now we're really sort of pushing into that territory of new ways of working that we keep talking about. So that's that idea of sort of outcomes rather than inputs, having that variety of setting, all of those alternative seats for people to access, less management by site, that shared workplace, equitable access to facilities and amenities, all of that sort of thing that we start to see as we've sort of moved into that new way of working.
Yeah, and it's because some of that technology has evolved. So
Yeah.
you're right, I mean, it was right for the time, but the evolution of the technology has made it so that we can do these things. So this idea of USB-C, Universal C, where it doesn't matter what computer you have, you can always connect to those dual monitors and extend. You know, the idea of Office 365 where I can access and co-edit documents online. So all of those things have enabled that evolution to happen. It's sort of, you know, and technology is going to continue to change, and that it will continue to evolve. So I think technology in the workplace is going to have a massive impact. Things like machine learning or AI, where it's collecting lots of data and you're in a meeting and it gives you the summary of the data, or just even that end user experience where it's automating that whole meeting process for you, captures your own notes. You know, when you arrive at work, it orders you a coffee. So I think there's a lot more automation and great end user experience to come, which will reshape again the workplace, which I think is really interesting.
That's a really interesting point for me as well, this idea that technology is going to change the way that we work, because technology has already changed the way that we work. And this idea of the 40-hour work week was coined back in the 1940s when we didn't have technology automating a lot of the processes and the jobs that we do today. So over time, we've already seen technology evolve the way that we work, and that really ties into this idea of outcomes versus inputs. Because we've automated so much, do we necessarily need to be working 40 hours a week? If we are delivering outcomes to the standard that we need to deliver them and we're delivering them on time, then maybe that 40-hour work week is redundant.
Yeah, this is a really, really good point.